Hey guys, Razorblade Mango here, and this is the beta for the Tomorrow Children. One of the more, uh, shall we say, unique upcoming PlayStation 4 games in 2016. Um, this is actually the first time I'm playing this, so what you're seeing is like a summation of a good 3 hours of playtime I had, because the beta started on Thursday, and unfortunately, due to my work schedule, I wasn't able to actually touch it until today. So, this is some of the footage that I caught from it. It's cool that they're letting people record footage, and I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to put this on YouTube. I've seen other walkthroughs of it, so I'd be very surprised if Sony came down and said, "Hey, take this off of YouTube now." So here's hoping this doesn't get taken down. Um, so, uh, and people have asked me what this game is like, and my initial response to that question is, the game is really fucking weird. It is a really weird game. It's this really bizarre combination of a really unique aesthetic where the environment is designed like a very interesting post-apocalyptic Russian doll claymation kind of thing. I mean, this is an aesthetic that has really held my attention since this game was first announced back in August of 2014 at Sony's Gamescom convention, and I remember seeing it, watching it with one of my best friends, and we both were really intrigued by what this game was. And one of my concerns with it was their description of it being it's very Minecraft-esque, which automatically raises some red flags for me because to be honest, I am not a Minecraft fan. I find Minecraft to be very boring, and I know I understand why it's a big cultural phenomenon, but I personally cannot get into it. So I went into this with a little bit of not I wouldn't say hesitation. I would more say a little bit more. I'm struggling to find a right word for it, but I don't know. It might come to me. Uh, but I was concerned that it just wouldn't click for me. I guess that's the best term I can come up with. It just wouldn't click. And unfortunately, I guess that's really all I can say regarding this game so far. It's just there is something here. There is something in this game. Maybe I'll never see it. Maybe after a few hours of finally getting it, it will finally click, but it just hasn't so far. And I played about 3 hours of it, and in those 3 hours, what did I do? Well, 3 hours I visited multiple different towns. I collected resources out in these really, admittedly, very creative, cool looking environments, and you occasionally fight Godzilla like monsters that attack your settlements, which is a lot like Minecraft, except with the Godzilla part. Instead of the creepers, you get these weird Russian Godzilla things. Um, so that's pretty much what you're going to be doing in the Tomorrow Children, according to this beta. What you do is you go to a hub town, and you try to find other towns to collect resources for. You board a tram to go to the areas that house these resources. You dig, and toil the whole day through. Yeah, you do that, and you get more resources, and go back to town, and you turn them in. That's pretty much what the Tomorrow Children is. And you occasionally fight, like I said, the Godzilla monsters. So, if you're like me, and this sort of resource collecting Minecraft-esque thing isn't your isn't your cup of tea. Sorry, I was trying to find the the correct. I almost said your piece of cake, but that's not the right term. If that sort of thing isn't your cup of tea, in all honesty, I cannot recommend the Tomorrow Children, because that's pretty much what it is. It's a lot of resource collecting, and my god, there's an overwhelming amount of currencies in this. I mean, if there's one major complaint I have with the build of this game so far, it's that it does a very poor job of breaking down and explaining what your role in all of this is. I mean, one of the interesting ideas behind the game is that it focuses more on you being a part of a collective rather than what your individual achievements are. And I think that can be interesting, but so far in the Tomorrow Children, it's just not really clicking with me. Like I said, it's part of it's just the lack of any kind of really good explanation as to what I'm supposed to do. Because literally after the tutorial, which is really cool and sets the tone really well, uh, you're kind of just stuck, and the game just says, "Hey, go for it," and just tosses you out in this world and doesn't really give you any kind of sense of direction. And I've seen people commend the game for that, like, "Oh wow, it actually the game lets me figure out my own path." Well, I mean, that may be fine for some people, but for me personally, I need some sort of compass to be like, "Hey, this is what you got to do." It's not like Skyrim, where Skyrim it's like, "Hey, I know what I'm going to do, so I don't mind. I know what my end goal is. I know what the controls are. I know what I'm doing in this world. I don't mind Bethesda just dropping me off at a certain point and being like, "Hey, go for it," and you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want. Tomorrow Children just doesn't function like that, and it's not that kind of game. It's a game that necessitates you being told what is going on, what your end goal is, and the game does a very poor job of doing that, to the point where I actually almost gave up after about an hour. But then I finally, after looking at some YouTube videos, I finally figured out what the hell you're supposed to do and what the flow of this game is. And that's another thing. I just haven't really gotten into the flow of the game yet, and I don't know if that's just my personal taste as a gamer, or if that's the game, like this, because the beta is very short and it's very limited and restrictive. Of course, the beta, which is very common, but maybe this is just a game that will gradually reveal its it's the aha moment for me, where but I didn't have that moment in the beta. I didn't have that moment where I went, got it. I finally understand what I'm supposed to do. I understood to an extent what I'm supposed to do, but and if the game is trying to do what I think it is, then it's just a game that's not made for me. I am admittedly not this game's target audience, which is a shame because I was actually really interested in seeing what this game was going to be like. And don't get me wrong, there are things about it that I really like. I really like the Russian doll vibe that this game has. I really like the environments because they're very creative. They remind me of stuff out of they like really surreal pop art from like the 1960s. I'm pretty sure that's the vibe they were going for, but it's really cool. As you saw earlier, there's even environments that are based on movies. Like there's the famous Trip to the Moon film, and that one of the environments you saw a few minutes back was an homage to that. Stuff like that, I think, is really cool, and I think is very creative and kind of brilliant. I really like that. There's like cool little details in the game. Like there's a point where I picked up a Russian doll, and as I was carrying it in my backpack, the character's backpack, you can actually hear the doll, the sounds of it clinking around through the speaker in the DualShock 4. That is really cool. It's stuff that they don't need to do, but little things like that do help you, like, kind of immerse you in this world. Stuff like that I think is really cool. I think more teams should do that, and that is definitely a team taking advantage of something that's unique to the PlayStation 4, which is the DualShock Force controller's speaker. And I do give them credit for trying something new. This is a game that, while not the most, and I'm pretty sure they're aware it's not the most mainstream selling game. It's a game that for a very niche audience, and it will be very interesting to see what kind of community this game cultivates, if any. There were actually surprisingly quite a few people playing this when I was online. I bumped into quite a few people, not only out in the environments, but in like the little hub towns. I like the organization that the game has, where it organizes what towns you can visit based on stuff that your friends create, stuff that has the most population, towns that are basically deserted, so you can go in and kind of tweak it to your liking. Um, and there's cool stuff in the town too. Like there's like guns you can make, like rocket cannons that are used for firing at those Godzilla monsters that come to attack the town. There's vendors you can visit. Some of them even have their own cool little thing. Like one vendor gives you this black market pamphlet where he's like, "Hey, psst, listen up. I got some items here that will be much better for you. And you don't. The state doesn't have to know. Here, take this pamphlet." And stuff like that I think is cool. I like the design. Like I said before, it reminds me a lot of the Russian dolls. It also feels a lot like a toy shop in a weird way. It's like a toy, like someone playing with toys, and which I think is a really really strange combination with the dystopian post-apocalyptic kind of thing. I never really thought I'd see a game like this as far as the visual sense goes, but it's pretty neat. Um, what else is there? Oh, the monsters are really cool, and I like how the monsters, when you actually come together as a town, because you can't defeat these fucking monsters on your own. They're huge, and their health bars are huge. So I like that the game encourages you to form a community and to fight the monsters as a community. And when you do, the monsters don't crumble away. They actually stay in their position that they are in when they died, and you and the townspeople can actually go up to these monsters and farm whatever resources you can find within it, which I think is a great idea, because that rewards you for coming together as a community, like I said, and defeating these monsters. You're rewarded not only with a cool image of a dead monster in your town, but you can actually collect resources from it by going up to it, like jumping on its head, chipping out away at its body, and you'll get stuff. I mean, it's like, you know, on paper it doesn't really sound cool, and I guess I'm probably underselling it, which is my fault. But trust me, when you see it in the game, it looks awesome, and it does make you feel like a community with these people. That being said, there aren't really a lot of ways you can communicate with the community. Not yet, anyway. Because the beta was so restrictive. There's you and the community can vote for a new mayor. You can create different buildings together. I think you can even like go off on your own and bring certain people with you. Try to break up a town. I think like the currency they said you could start building your own settlements was like 1 billion tokens or something, or tickets, or whatever, something like that. Um, I also think it's kind of funny that, from what I've heard, the Russian in the game isn't even really Russian. It's just a bunch of gibberish that sounds Russian, I guess. So I don't really know how to feel about that. I mean, it's kind of funny, but I can see why people would find it, irritating. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about the Tomorrow Children. One of the more interesting looking PlayStation 4 exclusives. Admittedly, not for me. Not gonna be for a lot of people, but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know how you felt about the game if you played the beta. And as always,